Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's AutoCAD Electrical webinar. So excited to have you all on. I see quite a few attendees already, so really excited to see you in. I know that we are starting the broadcast a couple minutes into this as it is, so we probably won't give too much more time to allow people in. We'll probably get going pretty quickly, but I am seeing the numbers rise, so I'll give it just a few seconds. While we're doing that, feel free to start using the question and answer pane within GoToWebinar to start putting your questions up. This is a full Q&A session. I'm seeing some of you already doing it, so thank you for that. And feel free to do that while we just give it 30 more seconds to allow a few others to get in. Okay, we are 3 minutes after, and I think we will just get us going. There are a few still joining, but that is okay. We'll welcome them as they come in. So first of all, I am Tiffany Bachmayer. I lead the manufacturing consulting team for the Americas at Autodesk. But today I'm here joining you wearing a different hat. I am wearing my AutoCAD Electrical subject matter expert hat, and always happy to do that. Excited to have these forums to still get to meet with you all, answer your burning questions, and cover any topics that we have together. I'm sorry that I was not able to attend last month's. It was a very hit or miss thing whether or not I was going to be out. As many of you know, during this crazy time we're in with COVID, travel is a bit challenging, and my baby sister got married, and we weren't sure if it was going to happen or not, but it did. And so I actually made the trek to California. That was an experience for another conversation of flying now in this new world, but I will give Delta tons of kudos. They did a fantastic job. So that was why I was not able to attend. So I apologize that I was not able to be a part of it. I heard you guys had a very interesting session with some of our Fusion team and looking at a different version of EMX. We call both the electromechanical workflow between electrical and Inventor EMX, as well as actually the Eagle integration into Fusion, which is electronics based EMX. So I know that probably didn't resonate for everybody on this call, but hopefully you found the exposure to something new and different, exciting, a slight change in format for us. But we are back this month, and I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited to see all the questions already coming in. You may see that I have a new face with me today. Matt Durst is not able to join us. He is on vacation leading up to the Labor Day weekend holiday, but I have been joined by an esteemed colleague of mine, Michelle Rasmussen. I always want to use my Eastern accent and change it to a different way. We just talked about this. Hopefully I didn't screw that up. But it is, I did it again, didn't I? It's the other way around. No, did I do it right? Okay. So she's going to be here to help me answer the questions and kind of keep an eye on the question pane, as Matt often does. That does mean we are down a vault expert, though. So if you guys have burning vault questions, I will do my best to answer them from the AutoCAD Electrical lens that I often do. But if we go deep into the vault side, as we often do on this call, we may have to table those for next month with Matt, or I can circle up with him afterwards, and maybe we can get you guys some answers in between these sessions just on the back end. So just wanted to explain that. But with that, let's get going. I'm going to share my screen because I have a feeling that I will need to be doing that pretty quickly here. And Michelle, I didn't mean to take it away. If you want to say hi to everybody, or
I'll sit back in the background. I've actually turned off my video so I don't interfere with the noise or anything, like, cause audio issues or anything. So yeah, just let me know how I can help.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'm probably, after this first question, going to need you to help me keep an eye on the next questions. I'll probably be leaning to you to just read them to me, because I'm typically deep in explanation and I miss them as they come in. So that's what I will be, but I will read the first one. All right. So hopefully you are seeing my AutoCAD Electrical, and Michelle, you're the only one that can respond to me. So if you can just tell me yes or no.
Yes, I can see that.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. And there's already tons of questions coming in. So thanks, you guys. You clearly have been waiting with bated breath to get in here and start asking questions. So that's exciting. Trevor, it looks like you're saying when AutoCAD Electrical has a fatal error, you fill out the info and send it in, you never heard back, do these actually help? So that's a great just general Autodesk question. Absolutely, those help. So those really help our product team see if there is glitch reasons. If they start seeing a ton of those and they're the same thing that gets prompted by it, they will respond to you. They don't always, but they are watching all of those to see, is there a trend? Is every time something's invoked on someone's computer, does that cause a fatal error? So the more information you give in that explanation area, the more helpful it is to them. But even just hitting submit is helpful. It helps them know whether or not there's something going on that's going to require a hot fix or a service pack update, or if it's maybe just something glitchy on someone's computer. So yes, it's a great question. It's a great general discussion. Absolutely always send those in. Even if you're not hearing back, there may be a time where you do get pinged and asked by our teams to give a little bit more explanation or to try something. If they see that you're getting fatal errors a lot and they think it might be a common thread, they may ask you to try something on your computer too. So really good question, and thanks for asking it. Let's see the next one. And apologies, this is a bit of a long one, so bear with me. Todd, as you are, and by the way, guys, you are always welcome to raise your hand and we can unmute you to ask you questions. If we need more clarification, or if you would rather do that than type it in, feel free to do that as well. So Todd, you say you have a question about the PLC database file editor window. When you pick a module to edit, and then you need to make edits to multiple existing lines or add new lines to a module, it's difficult to determine which line on the list you are editing. Is there a setting you're missing to better highlight which line you're editing? This is an issue if you added multiple lines of the same terminal type and you need to edit them to change the terminal numbers, etc. If you pick a line, edit the information, and then would like to go to the next line and edit the information, when you look at the list, it's difficult to see which line you have edited or which line you have selected. Okay, so I think I understand your question. Let's talk about it a little bit more. I'm curious what, where in it you're feeling that, and let's just maybe look at it together, and then you can give me a little feedback if this explains it or doesn't. So let's just say hypothetically, I'm in an Allen Bradley 1756, let's choose a discrete input. And I don't know, let's just choose the IB16 card. So if you're in this dialog and you're looking at the full terminal types, I think what you're saying is you're not sure which one you're currently editing. Is that the question? I'm guessing that's it, that you're not seeing necessarily a highlight. So you can select on the left-hand grid here, you can actually select the line and it will highlight it more if that makes it easier. The other key input information is where you're actually making those edits is down here. Obviously at this top terminal type, this is always your module info. So you're going to see a lot more attributes on the bottom to give you information of what you might be filling out for that particular module. But what I always look at too is the terminal description. So if you've been editing or adding additional things, I know that this is line 1. As I click down, you'll see this goes to 2, 3, 4. So you know where you are that way. But if it does help you, highlighting with the left-hand click might make it a little bit easier to see that. And if anybody didn't know this, it's a bit of a hidden gem. Whenever I'm creating new PLCs or I'm editing existing ones, if you right click and edit the terminal, you will actually get a dialog box that shows you images of the type of terminals you're picking or your inputs or outputs, as opposed to having to pick it from just the drop down. If you know yours, it's quite easy to use the drop down, but I'm pictorial and I like the image instead. And so I typically use that right click to help me kind of see visually what I'm selecting and editing. I hope that helps.
And Todd, I see you had raised your hand while she was answering that, so I've unmuted your line. Are you able to have a little conversation with Tiffany on that?
Sure. Thank you very much for taking my question.
Absolutely.
If you take one of those terminals right there, just right where you're clicked at, and you say add a terminal after, and you add, like, say 10 terminals, or insert terminal after. If you add 10 terminals, let's say, they all have the same description because they're copied from the previous one. So you
I
have
see
no
what you're
idea
saying.
where you're at when
I got
you
it.
start editing those.
Got it. Got it. So does the highlight help you, even just doing this?
It highlights there, but once you click down in the terminal description to change the actual thing, oh, okay, so yours is staying there. If you edit that, does the highlight go away?
Nope.
That's interesting. In 2020, that highlight goes away. Because as soon as I click on the terminal description in 2020, that unhighlights itself and you can't see where you were at before. Or maybe it's a setting.
I don't know if that being a setting. That's a good question. Let me just spin up 2020 really fast. I'm just curious to see it, if it, or if it's maybe, maybe a Windows setting. It's definitely not an AutoCAD Electrical setting. There's not a setting that I'm aware of within here that would change it highlighting or unhighlighting for you on that one. Let's see how fast I can spin up my 2020. It's opening. It's just going to take a second. But if it does it in here, I wonder if it was maybe a dialog box optimization or something, but I don't remember that being any different. You know what, let's open this. It doesn't really matter what drawing I'm in. Let's just, for giggles, see. Yeah, I can do it here. And it doesn't unhighlight for me in 2020.
Okay. I will
so
have to
maybe
look at that further.
Maybe just look at your setup, or try it again. Maybe how you're highlighting. I don't know.
Correct.
Maybe it's a different kind of highlight. Because there was that highlight when I double clicked in here where I could get it to, no, I'm not even really able to recreate it, but there's a different way you can highlight. But I always use the sidebar where it highlights the full line, not just the small box. And perhaps that's the difference. Maybe that one would go away. But try perhaps the arrow one instead. But good question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you very much for your help.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna leave my.
Let's go to Thomas Slack. Thomas Slack has his hand raised in the panel, so I'm going to unmute your line, Thomas. Oh, it looks like you're self-muted. Can you unmute yourself? Nope. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one then. How about Ken? So it says, what is a full fix for the arc setting in the cloud command? It won't stay at a fixed size.
So that sounds like a core AutoCAD question, not an electrical question. Challenge me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming you're talking about rev clouds. And if that's true, gosh, it's been a while since I even get into my annotation tabs because no one ever asks me questions about core AutoCAD anymore. I like it though. I like that you did that. Let's just turn on my annotate tab.
And Ken, I have unmuted you just so you can let her know if that is definitely what you're in.
Okay.
Yeah, is this what you're talking about, your arc length right here?
Yeah, so we just upgraded to 2021, and I only use electrical, but when creating a revision cloud,
sure,
it seems to be I have to set my arc length every time I go into a new drawing, every time I close it out, reopen it. So I looked on the AutoCAD forum, and there was a command that you can do to change that. I've done that. It still doesn't fix it. So, and it varies in size. It goes from like 3/24 to 1.5 inches to 54/64. It all depends, and it varies per drawing as I get into it.
That's interesting. I might have to look into that a little bit further. I was going to look and see if I could pull up quickly a system variable.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to think of the name of it off the top of my head right now, and
because I'm not thinking of it either. I'm sure there is a system variable for rev clouds that we can define that particular. Michelle, you don't have any thoughts on this one, do you?
I do not. I don't remember that being a system variable for RevCloud.
RevCloud arc variance is the
Is it?
command, is the one that the forum tells you to use.
That doesn't even come up as a system variable. I have RevCloud create and RevCloud grips.
I just happen to look it up on my AutoCAD's up, and it pops right up.
You know, Tiffany, you're looking in AutoCAD Electrical. Maybe look in just plain AutoCAD.
Yeah, that's true. Although it typically parses through the vanilla AutoCAD questions too, but I'm not sure how to promote myself to just core AutoCAD. I may have to do, oh, this is the what's new. Was it going to take me to, no. I wonder if it's new. That's what I was trying to figure out is it a new system variable change? RevCloud properties. Yeah.
That one's different.
Oh, it was. Okay.
That does something else different.
It does have the arc length in it, though. I wonder if that's what's overriding, because it does say that it automatically determines the size created in every drawing.
Yeah, see, there's the one, the RevCloud arc variance. If you look down on the note.
Oh, yeah.
So I've changed both of those, and neither one, it's still the same. It still doesn't work. It still varies every time I open a new drawing.
So that to me tells me that potentially this system variable, so as you guys all probably know, just a little AutoCAD 101, and I'll have to look into this one further. System variables can be, even though we call them system variables, they can be system based or drawing based. So there are certain ones like mirror text that actually has, it's drawing based as opposed to system based. It's possible that being a new system variable is actually drawing based as opposed to system based. So if your standard template that you open up to, or every old drawing that you're pulling forward and in the new version of the software is promoting that system variable to go back to its defaults, that could be the challenge. I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to dig into that one. I'm sorry that I don't have more answers on it. I didn't even actually realize that in the new 2021 that we had some system variable ads for RevCloud. So thank you for bringing it up, and I'll dig in and see if I can't get you.
And I didn't know if maybe because I still have 16 and 19 loaded, if something's kicking it. I've never had that problem before, but if one of those is actually kicking the new one, if they're all
only
reading
perhaps if
thing.
others are opening in those older versions and saving the software in those, and it's defaulting it back to then an earlier, that could be it if you've got multiple people working in the drawings, but I wouldn't think just because you have those older versions on your computer it's doing it.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's just annoying to use RevCloud.
I understand. I'll see if I can find a now there are ways that you can try to set system variables, like the set var settings, where you can have that persist for you. There are other ways to do that. Let me see if those fall under that and see if we can't help you with something on that one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Okay, Armand is actually asking the question, can you go over multi-level terminals and the term strip editor?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That is a good question. And hi, Armand. Some of you, I love it when I recognize your names. It's always exciting to see people that I've known for a long time on here. So if we were to look at, and I'm going to go over to, well, actually, we can even start with a terminal drawing. Yes, I know there is a command running. Thank you. Okay, so if we were to take a look at any of these terminals that we have, in the schematics, you can actually do quite a bit to terminals where you can define in the terminal settings association of terminals, which is really the multi-level setup to it, and then the jumpers, and the jumpers are external jumpers. So that would not be multi-level terminals. That's when you're saying you want a jumper from one terminal to another. The association is actually where you can define what the master terminal is and what, say, a connected terminal might be. Now, this is going to be a little bit odd with the way I'm going to grab this because this drawing is not really necessarily set up. Oh, and this one carries no block properties. That's not good. Let me, this is not the one I typically do terminals in, and clearly this drawing has a little bit less info in it. So let's just, I'm going to reopen a different project really fast that I know has a little bit more meaty terminals. So if you insert the most basic block form of terminals that we have in our icon menu, it does not carry actually any block properties, and that's what this was telling me. And I just don't often do terminals in my setup of this one. All right, so if we were to take a look at these, and let's hope these actually have some block properties to them. We'll see. If not, I'll insert some. Yep. All right, so if I were to connect this one to this one, what I'm doing there is actually defining, you can see that this terminal was added as level 2. So you're reading this all in the command prompt, and I know that's a little bit funky. If you were to go in and edit component, you will actually see it show up here in the upper and lower format. So this is how you define multi-level terminals. Now, the key to this is that this is actually a terminal that would be a multi-level terminal. So the key is and if I go into the details, is that it's a part number that actually allows multi-level. So the first step to any multi-level terminal is actually putting that catalog value in there and finding a catalog that is multiple level, like you can see with this one. Whenever something is set as a multi-level, it will have block properties associated to it. And if I were to actually go in and edit this full catalog browser, I'll show you the extent of this. You will actually see down at the end here the level description. So you can see a 3-level terminal will actually be defined as top, middle, bottom, upper, lower. There are others that say upper, middle, lower. So that's all in the block properties of the terminal block itself. And you can also talk about how those internal jumpers are associated to each other. So there's a lot to unpack with multi-level terminals. Once that's set in there, you can even look at some of these block properties up here where you can see whether or not there are, and I can expand this, internal jumpers like there are here between those two levels. So again, it's really all about the part number defining that, and you can do a lot of the associations even in the schematics. However, the caveat to this is most people find this, doing it here in the schematics, if you're not comfortable doing it via dialog boxes, it's easier to do out in the panel. So let's jump into a panel drawing and let's just talk about what that might look like. So if I now go to the panel tools and I actually click on my terminal strip editor, you will see all the terminal strips currently in this drawing. Now I was originally looking at, well, I thought it was TS-E, but I thought it had a lot more terminals in it than just one. Maybe we take a look at a different one. Let's look at this one that actually has. And of course I pick one without multi-level. So we'll go back and use the other one. Let's use this one. So you can see that one that I was just looking at where it is now combined between these two, and you can see the internal jumper. If it was an external jumper that we had assigned, it would show up on this side. So you're seeing these as multi-level terminals defined with that catalog number, which if you look at the catalog code assignment, you can see that here. So in the schematics, they look like separate terminals, but they know that they're linked to one another. And if we were to actually go to insert this into the drawing right now, and I'll show you a layout preview of it, it knows it's a multi-level terminal with those values on it, and you can define how you want any coding that goes along with it. Like right now, it's showing the wire number with it. If you don't like this extra information on here because it's embedded in the terminal as well, you can always delete these codes. There's lots of different things that you can do with this. Obviously, you have lots of different combinations of info you can add to these. Just to give you an example, you can add the wire layer and the terminal numbers to the outside. So there's tons of info and things that you can do with the terminal strip editor. This is in the graphical format. If you were to go to a tabular terminal strip, you'll actually see it in table form. So if you get a really big terminal strip that has 20 terminals on it, you'll see all of this information in here. And again, you'll know whether or not this is internal or externally jumpered, if this is a multi-level terminal or a single level terminal. There's a lot that you can do with this. In fact, if you go into the settings, you can even stretch these, and this one's not going to make a lot of sense, but this preview would show up if I stretched these across multiple drawings. So if I have big tables that I'm creating and I want them to build out multiple drawings to do that, I can do that. This is a really awesome dialog box that has tons of info to it. And then you can even do jumper charts. This is more for when you have external jumpers, but you can even build jumper charts. So there's a lot that can be done with multi-level terminals and the terminal strip editor. I hope that helps, Armand.
Great. And then Helen is asking the question, in July, you attached an information sheet. I was wondering if you could attach it again. I missed it in July.
Sure, absolutely. So I shared with you all the PDF version of this. Let me just make sure that you can actually see it on my screen. So this is a cheat sheet that I hand out at any conference that I go to for anything electrical. So it has all sorts of the key major files and support paths and things that we use to be able to edit and make AutoCAD Electrical so customized to us. And then on the back has cheat sheets about family codes and even standard attribute information that we have, standard naming conventions, lots of cheat sheets. So for anybody who missed that from the July webinar, I am happy to share that out with the team again. I'll work with, in fact, Michelle, I'll probably be with you. I'll work with you to send you the PDF, and we'll see if we can't get that sent out to the whole group again too. Awesome. Thank you for asking that. Yeah, happy to share.
Great. And Hal asked the question, if you created a drawing title block and have to use it in many, many drawings, and when want to update the title block, actually add, remove an item, is there an easy way to do that without going into each and every drawing?
Fantastic question. And this is actually impactful for any kind of block updates you have. And a lot of people don't know this, but our swap and update block utility within electrical will swap non-electrical blocks as well. So this swap update block utility, you can say you want to do it one at a time, drawing wide or project wide, and you can actually tell it, I want you to find every block that's a title block and swap it with this new title block. And it will update and use the same attributes and attribute locations, but will refresh to those new title blocks if you want to do that. So yes, that is a very easy way to do it. You use option A if they are named differently. You use option B if you actually named them the same and it's an update to that block. So perhaps you use that same title block and you just updated it and refreshed it, but you saved it the same, then you are then telling the software to go through and look for all of the old blocks with that name and swap them with the new blocks of the exact same name. That's also how we do library swaps. So if you guys didn't know this, you can switch your drawings from, say, an older version of NFPA to a later version of NFPA. And you can have it look for all the same block names, but the refreshed versions of those blocks. You can even do library swaps to different libraries. So one of the unique things about electrical is that our blocks in the background have been named the same no matter what the different libraries are. So if you want to go from NFPA to IEC because you need the international format of that symbol, you can actually use this. Now the caveat, as always, is if you built your own custom symbols and you didn't build one for IEC in the IEC format to match an NFPA, those aren't going to swap. They're just going to stay the same. But anything you use out of the box with electrical will do those full library swaps. So there's a lot of really cool things with this swap and update block. But that would be my advice for you, Hal, is just do a project-wide update of all the title blocks, and then you'll be able to swap all of them very quickly.
Okay. And Hal, I'm going to unmute your line because I see you have several questions in here, so I may as well get them all out of the way at once, if that's all right. So Hal, your line is unmuted on my side, if you'll unmute yourself as well.
I am unmuted.
Yes.
Fantastic.
There you go. So, as the rookie guy getting started with all this, we're designing and we're implementing, and then we're going, oh no, this isn't right. I need to change something.
Sure.
So that's where the title block came in.
Okay.
I also have it about if I create a symbol, but I'm guessing what you just explained, if I created a symbol, this will do the same thing.
It will indeed. Yep.
Okay, so that's two. And the third question is, so I have, can you create additional family codes?
Yes.
So you have the basic ones, but I would like to do something a little bit more, a little bit explanatory that also goes. So that means you have to get into the databases, the part numbers,
Yep.
the whole world.
Yep. Yeah, because your family codes are tied to the part numbers that they're associated with. So as soon as you pull up a control relay, it knows to parse the database for anything with a CR family code that would also assign that to part numbers that go with it. And that's also how it knows parent-child relationships, all of that. So
Right.
you can absolutely make your own family codes, but it's really imperative that you don't just manually override the existing ones. If you really want them to work like the rest of electrical, you're going to want to make sure you go into your part catalog database and edit. There's a table in that access database that is just the family codes. You'll want to edit that to make sure you have that added in there so that it also becomes its own table within the database. And then there's actually more supporting things on that. If you look up family codes in the help menu, you'll see all the different areas, but the key is in that part catalog database is defining those family codes there so that you have them in that table to use.
Do I have to be smart enough to work in Access, or is it simple enough for the basic me?
It's very simple. It's going to feel like an Excel file when you get into it. It's just about knowing, just don't go crazy, using your delete key inside the Access database file. But no, it's very easy to use that within Access. And most of our things that use Access actually have editable capabilities within the software itself. But some things are a bit easier if you just do them directly in Access. And that's one of them. I would encourage you to probably just go right to Access and add those additional family codes.
So I have to have a full version of Access on my system.
You do not. I think that you can run the web viewer of it. Try opening it right now. I'm curious to see what you see if you don't have Access on your computer, because I think
what am I going into?
Just go find any of the database files. So I'm not sure where they live on your computer right now. But out of default, they would live in your My Documents. I'll pull it up so you can see it on mine. So they would live in your My Documents under your AutoCAD E. And then if I were to go to one of my catalogs, if I were to open up, let's say, I'll do the big one. I'll do the default cat. So it should open up a bit like this. And you'll see the very first one is the family description when you open up that table.
All right. So maybe I'll get everything else working first.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good questions, though. Really good questions. Have you taken a class yet, Hal?
I did. I actually did. So it was okay. It was not bad. But there's there's practicality of the class, and then there's reality
100%.
of doing. And
Yes.
then there's a little, lapse of intelligence between the time that you did it and the actual apply.
Yes.
And I tend to try and push things to a limit. So it's a different world when you're actually doing it.
100% it is. Yes. And that's actually, I don't know who you took it from or how it was set up. It's why I typically encourage actually attending a class, utilizing if they have a manual or an online training that you can step back through as you're actually going through, because you learn the key functionality, which helps you get off on the right foot. But then going back through different modules to really dig in as you're doing it helps. And then honestly, getting ongoing mentoring. This forum is a great place to do it, but also having a consultant that will actually work. One of the things I used to do when I was training electrical is I would actually do that, but I would always encourage whenever my customers were working with me that they add on anywhere from 8 to 40 hours, depending on what they were trying to do, of additional mentoring for me, where it could just be kind of we meet weekly as you guys are going through it to actually be able to dig in and answer those burning questions while you're in the meat of actually building your templates and doing your implementation of everything and get that help. So I'm not sure if you're working with a particular reseller or if that's an opportunity with them. But
I have the manuals. I have the programs from it, so I can go back and do all the lessons and everything.
Good.
So I'm trying to convert my, like you said a long time ago, my old AutoCAD to electrical. So
Yes.
what I'm trying to do is build up my list of insanity first, and then I have the questions I want, and then I will go back
Sure.
to the local source and say, I need some of your help doing it, stuff like
Okay.
that. But between you and the stuff on the online that I've, past ones and everything, there's a lot of information out there. It's just trying
There
to
is.
apply it. So I'm
Absolutely.
done. I don't want to take up everyone else's time. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ralph.
Thank you for being willing to open up the line and chat. It's always nice to get the back and forth. I don't get it very often on this one. We're typically just cruising through all of the questions just in the pane. So it's exciting to get to talk to you guys. And Hal brought up something good that I think we should just reference for everybody's sake. One of my biggest kind of mantras that I have about moving to AutoCAD Electrical is not trying to take old data and convert to new, in the sense of, actually, we have conversion tools in electrical that will allow you to do some of that. And while I love those tools, I like them for as-built drawings that you're pulling forward that you just want to be able to run a report or two on. I don't like it as being the foundation of you moving from, say, vanilla AutoCAD to AutoCAD Electrical. I much prefer encouraging a from scratch approach. And I know that sounds like a heavy lift. I know what I'm saying. I know probably some of you are like, what? But there's a lot of things it will do for you. A, it will teach you a ton about electrical very quickly. B, it will help you create massively clean template drawings that will allow you, I often talk about not just DWT files, templates in electrical, but I actually encourage template projects, where if you as a company have a fairly standard setup to some of your electrical, or maybe you have 5 standard electrical sets that you have, maybe you have 10, maybe they're different every time, and this doesn't apply as well, but there's typically some sort of similarities. And what I encourage is you to build up a template setup with a perfect setup to whatever that is that you're designing for. And then as you have customer requirements, whether they are external customers or internal, depending on how your company is doing things, that you make those adjustments to those core base templates, but you're never starting from scratch. And you're also not constantly copying from, well, this project was sort of like this one, but I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to make a ton of edits to it and try to fix that. You always go back to your base, because the base tends to be the cleanest setup, and it doesn't have a bunch of funky things that happen to it based off of other customer requirements. So what I like about it is you're not just pulling forward old AutoCAD data or other formats that you maybe have that could have a ton of, hidden objects in it, a bunch of things that are old and outdated, old data that got copied and copied and copied and copied that's not really clean or good anymore. It allows you to really make a much cleaner drawing set right out of the gate. So just wearing a little bit of my training hat on that one, but I just think for everybody, just as a talking point, I think that those are really, really strong ways to start when you move into electrical. It may make that first project longer to do, but it will make all of your subsequent projects exponentially faster, because you can use all of the great project-wide editing tools to update them, and you have a clean, fully intelligent set, and not something that maybe is going to end up being half intelligent and half still kind of vanilla AutoCAD things floating out there, and so that you're not really getting true reports and tools. And that's all the stuff that makes electrical so powerful, is the intelligence behind it. So all right, I'm off my soapbox now. Michelle, hit me with the next question.
You bet. So Mark Odette is asking, how do AutoCAD Electrical and AutoCAD MEP compare or differ? And he's comparing, he wants you to compare basically the electrical side of AutoCAD MEP.
That is a great question, and I unfortunately cannot give you a strong feature by feature comparison. I'm not an MEP expert. I can tell you that I often have people join these calls that are looking for the more architectural application, and I often point them to MEP as opposed to using AutoCAD Electrical. That said, I've also heard that there's a lot of features and functionality within electrical that MEP does not carry. So there is a craving a bit from some of our architectural colleagues to utilize electrical. The struggle standpoint is really that MEP is meant to integrate better into the BIM world of that connected workflow with Revit, the Revit MEP tools, things like that, where electrical's really not. Electrical's cross connection is with Inventor. And if it needs to go any further than that, you'd have to take it to Inventor, through Inventor to say Revit or something of that nature. So I don't spend a lot of time in these calls on the architectural application, but it would be interesting. It's actually something I've been wanting to do as a personal goal of just comparing what is happening with MEP versus electrical, and where is there more crossover that may be helpful. Typically, I've always just taken the stance that this is for controls design. It's truly for a manufacturing application of machine design, and not really that architectural standpoint. But that said, we often bend these things to use them in all sorts of different ways to fill our needs. So I'd be curious more of what your request is. Is there a particular feature you're looking for between electrical and an MEP? Or are you trying to compare because of maybe looking to move to either one of them and you're trying to do a compare and contrast? I'd be curious to know what the goal of that question was.
Mark, I unmuted your line. Are you able to speak? Mark Audette? No. Okay.
No worries.
We'll go to the next question then. The next question is from Petri. Petri is saying, when will Autodesk add residual current device, or RCD, symbols in IEC library? How can you use combined component with RCD and circuit breaker, such as ADA 966G hanger? Now I need to add both component symbols separately.
That's a really great question, and one that I don't have an answer to. I don't know when we would add that. I can tell you that we update our symbol libraries to always carry the latest information. In fact, not this release, but I believe the release before this, we updated both NFPA and IEC with the latest standards from the government standards for NFPA 79 and the IEC 60. I'm not as familiar with the European code numbers, but those that particular update to that code base. So I know that they've been updated that way. I don't know if there's a symbol lacking. I will absolutely bring it to the product team and ask them if there is something that's coming with that, or a roadmap for us adding those. My advice to you, though, is something I would tell anybody missing a symbol that they would like. While we provide many, many symbols, I would always say, I don't know of a single person using electrical that doesn't at some point build something custom, right? Whether or not it's a custom component that your company does, whether it's something that's just not in the library that you need differently added. And it's why building custom symbols is so easy to do in electrical. We've really, with the symbol builder, it's so easy to add those and get those new symbols in there for you. So if there's something you're missing where you're having to add them separately, create a combined symbol. Build that together, put them both in together, and make that a combined symbol for you. And if you need them, and this is just a little piece of advice for everybody, if it's not something where you want them to react as the same symbol, you don't want them to be tagged the same, you still want them to be separated but able to be brought in together. And I'm not familiar with that particular symbol in IEC, and I apologize. If that's something that you need, then I would recommend actually building that as a circuit. So we can save circuits to our icon menu. That's an actual command in the software, save circuit to the icon menu. And circuits allow things to be inserted together, so you can have the wiring information and all the components together, but not have to separately insert all of those and all of the connections to them. So you can just easily plug and play it, and it will do. And any of you that know me well and have ever taken a class from me, you'll know that explode is a dirty, dirty word in my book, because whenever people explode blocks because they don't know how to edit them, it actually blows away all the intelligence of electrical. But my caveat is that when we use the circuit tools, that actually does a special explode, and that will explode it down to those core electrical components, so they're still fully intelligent. And you can save all of the block information pre-built into those circuits, unlike when we insert a single device and it just gives us a blank slate to fill out. The circuits will actually save that. So you could pre-embed catalog information, description text, all of that into those symbols if it's something you're craving being able to insert together. So I hope that helps. But I will take this back to the product team and see if that's something that's on the roadmap as well. So thank you for the question.
Great. And I'm not sure if you can answer this. Maybe I'll point it directly towards you. Donald is asking, can you talk about what AutoCAD Electrical sessions will be at AU 2020? Do you have any specific ones you're running?
Great question. So you all may be shocked to find this out, but I was actually not accepted. My class was not accepted this year at AAU. In fairness, I did not submit nearly as many as I often did. I actually only did one, and the one was more of an introductory one because I really felt with the wider audience and the different way that we're doing AU this year in a virtual standpoint, I wanted to be able to touch more people with a bit more of a basics course to kind of give more exposure to a wider audience. And I think that just probably wasn't what the team was looking for when they were reviewing proposals. So I am sadly not doing the class that I submitted. I am co-teaching with Rob Stein. Many of you know him. I've co-taught with him many times in many years past, and we are reinvigorating our implementation course. So we will be doing that together. I will be co-speaking with him. Other than that, I actually don't know of, I think it was a pretty small amount of electrical classes taken this year. Obviously with the format change and us covering globally all sessions of AU, not just US AU, but everything coming together in this one virtual event, there had to be a little bit of a differing allotment of amount of classes per genre of fields because they couldn't get everything in that they wanted to. So I don't know of many others. I hope to find that out soon, but that's what I know right now. I can tell you that I will be co-teaching one with Rob Stein that's on implementation. But other than that, I'm not sure what else is going to be provided for electrical.
Great. Right, I'm going to open up the line, and I apologize if I say your name wrong. When I open your line, you'll have to correct me, if you will, please. Viswanathan, your line is now open. Nope, she muted herself. Okay, it sounds like she has a child with her. So,
understood. I feel that.
Yes, as we all do it these days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and maybe come back to you last if you want to get that situation taken care of. And then Brandon, I'm going to bring your question up next. Rename WD_jumper or add a similar one so it can be used in the PLC parameter generator. Currently, it cannot be used due to the underscore being replaced with a numeric value. A lot of the PLCs have internal jumpers for power distribution. It would be nice to carry the wire number through.
Yeah, that's a good one. There is a different, and I'm not remembering it off the top of my head, Brandon. I'm going to have to get back to you probably in a side. And you're always fantastic. I love your questions on here, Brandon. And by the way, everybody, if you're new to this, I always encourage beginner, intermediate to advanced. And Brandon always challenges me with the super advanced, which is always exciting, and I like it. I'm not remembering it off the top of my head, but there is a custom code value that you can put in place of the WD_jumper instead, that will actually do that internally to it so that you don't have to deal with the underscore. And I'm just not off the top of my head remembering that custom code. But I will dig it up and I will send it to you because there is a workaround to that. So thank you for the question. And I just have to, it's not off the top of my head right now.
Okay, great. And let's see. Sean is asking the question, can you go through the PLC I/O utility briefly?
IO utility briefly. Yes, perfect. Okay, sure, absolutely, Sean. I don't know how brief it'll be, but I'm happy to do it. So there are, for anybody who doesn't know this, and I typically like to use this particular project, not that I have to, but I like to use it. If you were to look, so we have PLCs, you can see that on here, and you can insert PLCs and you can break them apart. Like if I were to drop them in on the lines down here and then even build another ladder and spread it out, you can do that manually. But one of the really cool utilities that we have is found under import export data, and it's this PLC IO utility. Now, this utility utilizes an Excel spreadsheet called the demo PLC, and you can edit this, and I just want to show this to you quickly if I can get it to pull up in Excel, if my Excel will open fast enough. I've got a lot of Excel files open right now. And of course it's telling me it's read only, and that's okay. Come on. There we go. All right, so if you take a look at this, this is what it produces. Now, some of you may be looking at this and thinking, oh, this is a little overwhelming. It's not something that's intended for you to have to build manually. You can, though. I know some designers who actually work better looking at something, laying it out here in Excel. And if you were to do that, this is a great forum to be able to do it, and you can do it manually. What this often comes from instead is any PLC programming utility that you have, for instance, like RS Logix, that you would actually get the export out of that and then be able to have it produce a spreadsheet like this, and you can format that spreadsheet then to fill in the things that you need here for electrical to read, and then have electrical automatically produce the drawings that would go with these. So that's what's going to happen coming out of this, and I'll show you in just a second. But if just to give you a high level, the first column of this is always the PLC code. Any of the subsequent columns here are about any of the subsequent information we can add to the core module. So this would be like rack and slot information. This is the IO addresses. Words like spacer and break are actual codes in this that it knows to put a spacer in or to break the module. And then here's your 5 lines of description for each PLC IO point, and then even things like filling out the voltage and such. Now, the rest of this, you can have up to 9 inline components along every IO point that you will have it insert. When you do that, this is very basic. This is just showing the tag ID, the first line of description, the block that it will insert. So this is red because this is actually the handle of what that actual block name is that it's inserting of the type of symbol, and then the location code. As you know, there are many different types of attributes that we put into all symbols. So if you wanted it to also put in manufacturer number, catalog number, all of that, you would just make that a column, and you would start it with D1 cat, D1 MFG for manufacturer catalog number, and you code it by the device number. So this is 1, 2, 3, and you can go up to 9 inline devices on an IO point. So that's the setup to this spreadsheet. And then once you actually utilize this spreadsheet, and if I were to select this and hit open, then you actually look at the setup here and you utilize, and you only have to really do this once. You can even save these set files as whatever you want, but you define where you want the first ladder point to be, what you want it to look like, what the width of your ladders are, what the distance between them are, how many ladders per drawing, how many rungs per ladder, all that good stuff. You can even suppress certain things. I mean, there's a lot of functionality in here that you can really make this what you want it to be. And then this goes into what's the graphic style of the PLC, what's the spacing of each first insert of that IO module. So whether or not the PLC is being inserted, 1 inch off of the neutral bus line, the hot bus line, all of that. And then the inline devices, what is the spacing between them? Where do they first insert? And how far are they off of the bus lines as well? So once you do it, and then you tell it what template you want to use. Now, I'll tell you what, this is using a template that puts by default is using a template that has the title block in model space. So do as I say, not as I do. Do not put your title blocks in model space. But there's old legacy templates that still have that, and that's what this one's pre-set up for. So I'm going to give that caveat. But once you hit OK on this, if I were to then say, I'm going to start on drawing 14. So I'm going to call my ladder 1400, and I'm going to do a free run, and it's going to be sheet 14. I'm not going to use my active drawing. I'm going to have it create a brand new drawing starting here. Then once you do this and you hit start, it will actually build that first template, and it will throw that module in and it will build all the inline devices. So it will go through and insert. This particular demo set actually builds three. I feel like my 3-year-old's still working with his fingers. It will build 3 drawings for you with this demo set if you want to use it as a practice. It's a great template for setting up your own, however you want it. My other little comment is if you go back through the AU forums, I believe it was 2018, 7, maybe, I don't remember how far back it was. I've spoken in a lot of AUs and so I've forgotten, but around the 16, 17, 18 era, I actually did a presentation with a customer where we actually faked out this spreadsheet to PLC-IO utility, and we had it build all of the schematic drawings. So full automation to the entire schematic drawing set just by faking out what was a PLC. So we basically created blank hidden PLC modules so that it would utilize this utility to do a full automation run on the entire drawing set. So it's a cool class. It's a cool template. There's a lot of files that are up there to help you kind of try that out for the first time. But if you're craving automation, that was us altering the automation of just the PLC pages to automation of the full drawing set, utilizing this spreadsheet utility. So just a little extra there if you want to go check it out. I'm conscious of time, Michelle. I'm not sure if there is a maybe a quick question we can cover and then wrap, or I know we only have 2 minutes left.
Let's see if Mitch's question, because he's saying with this question, you are also able to modify through the PLC database. Is that also a correct method?
With
and I wonder if it's even connected to this one. It may be connected with an earlier one.
Yeah, I think that was probably connected to the database itself. So this is about inserting modules once they've been built. The PLC database is about actually editing what those modules look like, how they lay out, what the inputs and outputs look like, how many IO points there are. So they're related because one feeds the other, but you're not editing the actual database in this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is just editing what is actually going to be inserted on your drawings. But that's a good question, and probably a strong way to wrap, unless I can find something that's a really short that we can do in one.
Maybe Mark's would be a good one. What is the session number of your AU session that you're co-presenting at?
That is a great question, and I don't know that answer. Let me see if I can find it really fast. If I can pull it up. I don't have it directly in front of me, but.
Well, but the registration is not available yet, right?
I don't think so. Oh, hi, Anton.
Hi.
Let's see.
They can start looking at classes, I believe, correct?
And just so you all know, though, we will be running one of these as a special setup of this during AU. So we will run a special session for this one. So while I'm not teaching the class that I submitted, I am going to be co-teaching on the one I told you guys about, and we also will have a special user group just for AU. We'll do something different, a little special for it than what we have. If you guys have ideas for what you'd like to have, I'd love input on it. But I know Michelle and Anton, you guys are already looking at how we might do this cross collaboration wise with all meetups. But if you guys have thoughts, let me know.
Yes, and in the survey directly after this, you can actually add those topic submissions, and we can make sure that Tiffany gets a hold of those.
That
we are at time, so maybe we'll add that session number in the follow-up email.
Yep, we'll have to do that.
Okay, great.
I'm not able to pull it up fast enough. Sorry, guys. I was trying to log in really fast to my speaker resource center, but I don't have it coming up that quickly. Thank you guys again for an amazing session. These were awesome questions. I am cognizant that we didn't get all of them answered. We'll see what we can do in the in-between. If not, please bring those questions back to next month. And it's always a great way to start the next month with already having questions to dive into. We are in a new day and time. Hopefully this is okay with you guys with the first week of the month now that we're headed into the fall season. And we're back at our old 11 a.m. Eastern time as opposed to the update that we had later moved into the afternoon. So hopefully that's working better for our EMEA colleagues. Thank you again, and thank you, Michelle and Anton, for being on here. And I look forward to speaking to you guys next month.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.